Flight of the Damned grants the ability to conjure 5 flying entities that can pass through obstacles and damage survivors in their path. Triggers Killer Instinct on survivors down by this spell for 3 seconds. Cannot hit crouched survivors on level terrain. Flight of the Damned is one of Vecna's 4 spells, and his only damaging spell. At first glance, it might not seem like it does the job very well. The skeletons are small, they fly away from each other, and most bizarre of all, you can crouch them? You can crouch them? How could this spell possibly be good if you can crouch the skeletons? This is just a worse artist burn. You were thinking about this ability completely wrong. Do not think of Flight of the Damned as a ranged ability. It's a ranged ability in the sense that a Xenotale's a ranged ability, but you're not just gonna throw out the skeleton crew willy-nilly, are you? Like Xenotale, there's a couple of use cases where you want to use Flight of the Damned, but you're not just using it because, oh, the enemy's at range, I will hit them. But before we go over how to use it, let's go over how to not use it, shall we? I'm sure you've seen plenty of Reddit threads on how Flight of the Damned is loud, easy to see coming, has too much counterplay, and a mobility spell. Wait, what the fuck? And yes, at first glance, Flight of the Damned might seem highly redundant. Why would you want an easily counterable spell when Mage Hand is right there? And to that I say, what other Vecna spell can do this? One of the biggest mistakes I see with people using Flight of the Damned is trying to force the skeletons to do damage. This can work in some cases, like when you're placing the skeletons on top of someone, but you shouldn't force it every time. The survivors know that the skeletons do damage. If they don't, then get out a new player MMR. It's okay and even encouraged to use the skeletons to force a situation in which you might get an M1. And in situations where you're trying to double tap, it's important to know when you can and when the survivor is just spinning circles around you. If they are spinning around you, it's better to just M1 and save Flight of the Damned for the follow-up chase. Another big mistake I see is trying to hit a survivor from too far away. And I'm talking way too far away. Even if the survivor's on a slight elevation, the skeletons spread way too far apart to get any sort of reliable value. I'm talking like max distance, by the way. If you want to go for it anyways, like, be my guest, you'll probably hit them. There's like a 50% chance. This doesn't even just apply to elevation scenarios. The skeletons are a way worse zoning tool when being used from further away. You want the survivors to crouch the skeletons, rather than getting their hair trimmed by 2 skeletal beings. The skeletons are less impactful when the survivor dodges them instead of crouches, at least in most situations. Sometimes you can make them dodge into you. It all depends on the loop you're in and the scenario you're in, basically. Single-handedly, the biggest mistake I've seen with the skeletons is forgetting that they have a recovery period. For example, Sable walks up to pallet. Vecna gets idea. Vecna will place skeletons in order to force Sable to dodge or get hit by the skeletons. Genius! Vecna places the skeletons, Sable crouches, and then boom, she drops the pallet.
What? How are you able to do this?
Well, it's quite simple. I have over 15 million power and rise of... Well, actually, it's due to the recovery time after placing Flight of the Damned.
That's 100% right. And yes, while usually it is a good thing to try and hit survivors during animations, if they read into it, they'll be able to just crouch and then do whatever action they're gonna do. Especially around pallets, it's important to use Flight of the Damned when you know for sure that the survivor is gonna go through an animation. Well, we've gone over the don'ts of Flight of the Damned. If you take anything away from this section, just remember, do not treat Flight of the Damned as a hunter's hatchet, do not force the skeletons to do damage in every scenario, and be careful using Flight of the Damned to punish animations. These are kind of basic avoids, but honestly, they should be enough to hopefully discourage you from thinking about using Flight of the Damned incorrectly. At the end of the day, it's not a true range spell, and its best use cases are up close, where the spread of the skeletons isn't as pronounced. Now, why don't we go over what to actually use the skeletons for, shall we? If you ignore the fact that Flight of the Damned is a long range, it's actually a pretty good close range spell. I mean, it's literally built like a shotgun, look at that thing. Moving on, one of the best ways to use Flight of the Damned is to place it directly on top of survivors. This gives them minimal time to react and can be used to 2-tap survivors, or you can use them on loops where you are physically close to the survivor. However, this requires good spacing and a bit of practice to get down, But once you understand the spacing, you'll be a
Skeleton placing on tall survivor master.
do this enough and you'll find the secret 6 skeleton. Another excellent way of using Flight of the Damned is by using the fabled elevation trick. By using Flight of the Damned while the survivor is on a higher elevation, you'll make the skeletons uncrouchable. You can even do this coming upstairs. However, it is important to try and be close to the survivor, as a long-range snipe will usually result in the survivor just physically dodging the skeletons. You can also pre-place the skeletons for right before the survivor goes up in elevation, that way they're caught off guard faster. Honestly, you don't even have to directly hit the survivors with Flight of the Damned for them to be usable. Simply just throwing them can cause the survivor to lose distance, allowing you to hit them where they otherwise would have been able to make a pallet. This is especially useful if you throw Flight of the Damned behind a wall, as this will further increase the amount of focus and time the survivor will have to pay for the skeletons, allowing you to possibly even make more distance. You can also use the skeletons to hit survivors during animations, such as window vaulting or pallet throwing. This is usually a 50-50, however, as the survivor can just not perform the action and then perform it after the skeletons due to the long cooldown that Vecna suffers. However, if you predict that the survivor is going to drop a pallet, it's an excellent way to catch them off guard, get a hit, and waste the pallet throw in the process. Quick recap, how should we use the skeletons? Use and pre-place the skeletons when the survivor is on a slight elevation. Use the skeletons to zone into an M1 rather than directly damaging them. Place Flight of the Damned directly on top of survivors to give them virtually zero time to react. And use Flight of the Damned to punish pre-dropping survivors and hit them during animations. Hopefully with this video, I was able to truly define what Flight of the Damned is intended to be used for. Instead of being seen as a long-range spell, I hope you guys can see it for what it actually is. A close-range punishing tool, and a slight ankle hazard. If you enjoyed, please make sure to use Mage Hand on that like button, throw Flight of the Damned to hit that subscribe button, use the spelling sphere to find the comment section, and fly on over it to let me know what kind of video I should make next, as well as any constructive criticism y'all might have. I'm not perfect, so if I get something wrong, please let me know. I would also like to announce a hopefully new upload schedule. I'm trying to aim for 1 video every 2 weeks, so we'll see if I actually stay true to that. I also stream on Twitch, so if you're interested, come find me at twitch.tv/ashimibob, link in the description. With that, my Vecna friends, I will see you all very soon. Peace.